that, isn't it, from Arthur? This is about farming.
Well, and they are very good friends. They hang out a lot in Austria, where they're based during the season. They both fish out of water, really, over in Europe, learning the scene. And he does know farming well, and it is a good point. He is, I suppose, more used to these conditions than the rest of the riders, including Danny Kent, who was latest Grand Prix winner when he went on and took victory in Japan. And I think everything's been forgiven in that team for this weekend now.
Yes, I think it was heat of the moment. Steph, you could understand why Cortese was so upset. I think he was probably more upset with himself than anybody else, because he could have gone on to win the world title, and he couldn't be sitting here now working out all the permutations, so he's probably going to do it.
And if anyone hadn't tuned in since last week and they saw Cortese and the team venting their frustration, Cortese was very apologetic later on, says he'd seen it back and realises that it wasn't anything to do with Danny Kent why he had that crash on the last lap. He did recover to finish sixth. He said the main thing is I go to Malaysia with a chance of the championship, and he's on the outside of that front row, and if he does take a podium today, as he has done in all bar 2 of the races so far this year, he will be the world champion by the end of this afternoon. The rain could put a spanner in the works, but there's Jonas Folger in that middle row who will also fancy a win, and lining up in pole position for the first time. You heard his nervous laugh before Ian spoke to him. It's Solfami Karadine.
So welcome back to Sepang. I'm Nick Harris, sitting alongside me, Gavin Emmett, down in pit lane, Ian Wheeler. Yes, this Malaysian rider in pole position.
Fahmi Karadine heads us off, number 63. Alongside him, 2 Germans who both will have designs on winning this race, Folger and Cortese. If Cortese's on the podium, he is world champion today.
Yeah, Louis Rossi, Miguel Oliveira, Efren Vasquez on that second row of the grid. Brad Binder done so well. Rins, the former Spanish champion, Adrian Martin. And there you go, Louis Salom dropped back 5 places after that move on Jonas Folger on the last lap of the race a week ago in Japan. But row 4 won't be the end of the world as long as he can get a decent start, along with Danny Kent, of course, who won in Japan.
And Tanucci, who had his first podium there as well on the 5th row of the grid, down there with Jakob Kornfeil, who has been very good this weekend. Jack Miller has also looked good this weekend. New little bits and pieces for him on his bike there. Arthur Sissis, who we spoke to, is on the outside of that 7th row with Miller. And going back down through the order, you saw Danny Webb there in 25th alongside John McPhee in 26th place. Right at the back of the grid was Riccardo Moretti on the Mahindra. And those are the big black clouds Ian was talking about. That's turn 1 and 2. So now they're around turn 1 and 2, they're looming. Turn 15, I can see it over the back of turn 4 as well. We're being surrounded. We're being surrounded, but there's a patch of blue sky where it's shining on this circuit at the moment. But I think we'll do very well to get the next 38, 39 minutes of race action here in Sepang without somewhat of a shower.
What a day for Sandro Cortese. His parents, Karen and Antonio, flew in, I believe, last night. They were going to go to Australia, but they changed their flights to come here because they want to see their boy win the World Championship. The last thing he will want is rain, because it just makes life more difficult. And podium finish, and the mishap he had in, obviously, last weekend in Motegi, and I think it was France where he finished 6th in the rain when he fell off the bike and got back on. Apart from that, he's always been on the podium. He's very capable of podium finishes in any company. But the rain can just make it a very, very different game indeed. And then you're going to be working out when the end of the race is going to come and everything else. It's just the sort of thing that he doesn't want at the moment.
35 degrees Celsius, 95 Fahrenheit. How's that going to feel on board the bike, Ian? I can imagine how it feels down in pit lane, but on board one of these Moto3 machines?
Yeah, it's going to feel like you're being sandblasted with a hairdryer, I expect. It's bad enough down here. We've got a little bit of breeze in pit lane now. I hate to think what it feels like on one of those bikes at 100 miles an hour with the helmet and the set of leathers on.
It's going to be tough. There he is, Sandro Cortese, 22 years old, of course a German, with a German and Italian parents. Thought he won the title a week ago. It didn't happen. 131st Grand Prix. He's only had 5 wins in Grand Prix racing. That just shows how consistent he has been this season.
We heard Arthur Sissis just talk about it, and we just better clarify. So, if rain does come, there need to be 12 complete laps of the race out of the 18. That's completed. That's all riders having come through. So usually that happens when the 13th lap is started. And so just be aware of that. Actually, in the Moto2 race last year, when it got stopped early because of an injury, it was a red flag that went out in Moto2. They were all actually on that lap. They hadn't crossed the line, and yeah, that led to Tom Luthi being the winner there. So just something the riders need to know, and obviously Sissis was aware of that.
Yeah, I'm sure they all know it. So here we go, round 15 of the Moto3 World Championship. Problems.
Armando Pontoni, I'm sure it's a start for pit.
Yeah.
It's pit lane start from Armando Pontoni, and also for Danny Webb as well.
So Fahmi Karidin, 21 years old yesterday. There is Danny Webb. His very first pole position in front of a packed house here at Sepang. His home crowd. In the middle of that front row, Jonas Folger, very capable of winning his second Grand Prix this season. And the world champion-elect on the outside of that front row as we get underway here at Sepang.
And it's a good start for Folger. Not so great for Sandro Cortese. A little bit of caution coming off the line. It's going to be Fahmi Karidin powering down into turn one. Efren Vasquez is the one to make up the room. Listen to the cheers of the crowd as we go down into turns 1 and 2 for the first time. It gets extremely tight in here. Oh, there's a couple of niggles in there with Niccolo Antonelli and Romano Fenati. But it's going to be Folger who takes over at the front. From Karidin in second place. Folger just taps the back of his bike and says to Fahmi, get in behind me and we'll get away. With Vasquez just behind them in third as they go up the hill towards 4.
Yeah, Cortese was very, very careful into turn 1. He thought about going up the inside of Vasquez and sort of mentally stopped himself doing it.
Good start from Danny Kent from the 4th row of the grid in 11th. He had a good warm-up this morning after looking a little bit off it all weekend, and he went right up, and now he's gone up into 6th place from the 4th row of the grid.
Yeah, Louis Salom up into 9th place, of course, knocked back 5 places on the grid. Have to keep an eye on him. Things will settle down a little bit. Very sensible move by Folger, I think, to say that to Fahmi Karidin. If he'll take the advice or not, I don't know. Obviously, you want to lead your home Grand Prix.
And they come down towards turn 9 for the first time in this race. Watch out for Efren Vasquez, who's going to try and have a dig on the inside of Fahmi Karidin. Hasn't done so. They go round in this fast turn 10 as they go up the hill. Louis Rossi has made his way into 5th. Well, has actually just dropped a place into 5th. There is Vasquez. He's a messer. He's one of these who can stick the bike in and really mess people's races up. And as a first rip-off comes off from Jonas Folger, who leads the way.
Yeah, Vasquez just about made it stick. He's in 2nd place in front of Fahmi Karidin now. Folger will get away at the front. And Cortese already very aware of that, but making a big move there on Fahmi Karidin.
And a big moment, though, for Efren Vasquez coming in now, and a slip coming onto the back straight now. Will these KTMs be able to power past the bike of Efren Vasquez? They have done. Both Cortese and Karidin have got through. Here comes Miguel Oliveira. He's been quick all weekend. Vasquez wants to fight back. Cortese doesn't want any of this kind of stuff. Folger's shot off at the front, and that was his pace early on in the weekend. The big question is, how long can he last in this heat?
Yes, the last man he wants up there, Cortese, is Efren Vasquez. Already he's shown him that he's going to give him a rough old ride. And Louis Salom now making progress as well. Picks off 2 riders in one go. I don't know if he can actually make it stick. He got up the inside there of Miguel Oliveira.
Oh, those clouds are looking so menacing, and just firing it through there. Coming back, Louis Rossi, and just forcing Salom to sit up, and Oliveira as well, who's also looked very good this weekend. It's a little bit hot and heavy around there, I think. Some of the moves that are going in that chasing group there with Rossi, Salom and Oliveira. They all want to be part of this front pack as Folger streaks away. And I think Cortese sat behind the right person to do that, and that's Fahmi, because he also had the pace. Only couple really to be able to match Folger were the 2 KTMs of Karidin and Cortese.
Yeah, it's a good battle between Rossi and Louis Salom. Cortese will be happy, I think, following Fahmi Karidin. He won't be so happy that it's Efren Vasquez behind him, because he knows if he get an inch to go through, he will absolutely ride through it.
Just settling down a little bit as they head down towards turn 9. Cortese almost blocking off Efren Vasquez there, making sure he can't go through at that tight left-hander. That's Riccardo Moretti. He's had a disastrous time since he came back into the championship as a replacement for Marcel Schrotter at Mahindra, and he is out of the race.
Jonas Folger just building up a little bit of an advantage. Of course, a long, long way to go. Cortese beautifully placed in 3rd place. Karidin as we've seen often this season, can lead races, can stay up here, but it's looking after his tyres has been his problem. And I'm sure he'll be well aware of that situation. Of course he wants to win, but he's still chasing that first podium finish as well.
I think even if Fahmi Karadin's tyres do go off, he'll be in the same boat as everybody else, because tyre wear was something that the riders were all a little bit concerned about ahead of this Moto3 race. In fact, that's true across all the classes here. The other thing they're aware of is the physical difficulty of racing in these conditions, and now, even since the start of this race, the humidity has started to climb. And this just leads not just to physical degradation, but also causes problems with focus as well, which can lead to mistakes in the race.
Look how powerful Fahmi Karadin's engine is as he comes down to turn one. He sits up early, but he was alongside Folger going down into there. Didn't want to cause his German colleague any kind of problem, so he sat up and just brought it round comfortably enough in turn one. And we just saw Louis Rossi coming past Efrem Vazquez and up into fourth place. That will calm Cortese's nerves just a little bit.
Just a tiny little bit, because Louis Rossi can be quite aggressive as well, but not as aggressive as Efrem Vazquez. Did you hear that crowd when Fahmi Karadin pulled alongside Folger as they went into turn one? They are going crazy here. Sizzling in the heat, but sizzling in absolutely every way. I've never been to Malaysia and experienced the excitement about MotoGP before in my life. It's absolutely fantastic. Place is heaving and they are so excited.
Karadin just having another little look at Folger, but I think it looks as though he certainly has the power down the straight in comparison to Folger, so it might be wise to just leave it to there. They go down towards turn 9, just blocking off the road for Sandro Cortese. You just see Miguel Oliveira sat up there as Vazquez getting shuffled down through the pack now and is down into 7th position by Oliveira, and perhaps just going a little bit too hard too early. Now Louis Rossi goes through on the inside of Sandro Cortese, but I would hazard a guess that down the back straight that Cortese will be able to make that back.
Yeah, Folger hasn't been able to get away at the front. It's still a long way to go, 15 and a half laps to go as they come round to turn 14. That will bring them onto the back straight. Let's just have a look at the different power of the machines down here.
Karadin, number 63, in the lead is Folger, who was many people's favourite actually for this race because he was just so much quicker than anybody throughout the whole weekend. Down into the final corner, turn 15, it's always a struggle. Cortese thought about going through on Rossi. He's not going to do it this time. They come down the straight again. This will be the third lap down. Still 15 more to go when they go across.
They're at turn 1. Karadin just closes up on Folger. Now is he going to get up the inside of him? You'll know by the side of the crowd. No, that's the second time he's done that. Cortese back into 3rd place past Louis Rossi. I think Cortese is absolutely right. I think you've got to fight, haven't you? Because it just mentally, that's the way you ride a motorbike, isn't it? If you start trying to be too careful, you can have problems. And certainly we've seen this season he hasn't been too careful on a number of occasions.
Looks terribly, terribly gloomy out there at the moment.
Well, I was going to say firstly about Sandro Cortese, you're absolutely right, Nick. The other problem is you take it easy in Moto3 and play a bit cautious. Yeah. You suddenly find yourself not in 3rd, but in 23rd. Yeah. And Sandro Cortese will be aware of that. This last lap the riders have just completed. It's the first time since the start of this race that they've come onto the start-finish straight to be confronted by very, very black and ominous clouds rather than the sunshine we had on the grid.
Louis Salom, he's got a big task in front of him to prevent Sandro Cortese winning the world title this afternoon. But as we know, Salom is in great form.
Karadin looks comfortable to me, sat in there behind Folger. He was thinking about going around one side, then just switched to the inside to block any potential moves. Meanwhile, behind, Sandro Cortese was under attack from Louis Rossi. This will help the front two a little bit. Cortese just saving himself. As one thing that he has shown this year is his ability. Yes, he may be aggressive, but it's more or less to keep himself in the picture. But he's not worried as long as he's in touching distance with 3 or 4 laps to go, and then he can start to make his move and wind it up. And that's why he's had so many podium finishes this year. 12 out of the 14 races we've had so far this year, and the only other 2 off the podium were 6th places.
And you've got to say, he's hardly made a major mistake. big major mistake was when he had one hand on the World Championship trophy, wasn't it, a week ago in Motegi. In some ways, you can't blame him for that mistake because he was, what, 3 bends away from winning the world title.
So across the line, 14 laps to go. Still Folger leads from Khairuddin, then Cortese, Rossi and Salom. The group is strung out a little bit. Danny Kent started to come through that. He's past Efren Vazquez now and just trying to challenge the back of Alex Rins as Vazquez just tries to cling on. This is the chasing group and it's being led by Arthur Sissis from 21st on the grid. This is the tail of his season, really. Qualifying hasn't gone so well, but he's right up in 10th. Actually just lost that spot there to Brad Binder, so the South African goes through on him, but he races so well, Sissis, and I think he's one for the future.
Yeah, 2 youngsters making their way in Grand Prix racing and really going well here.
Tanucci, we know he can be aggressive as he showed us last time out. Nicholas Io there, teammate to all the other Io riders. He's, of course, the owner's son.
He's had an up and down season. He's quick, Nicholas Io, but he does crash too often.
Good to see Binder going well in this race. Looked good all weekend, just apart from the engine problem that he had. He was about here, and it was all smoking coming out the back. We weren't sure at the time if it was smoke or steam. We thought smoke, but then we thought, well, he's clearly got power because he powered down this straight. And then when he puts his foot on the rear brake to brake down towards turn 9, he said his foot slipped off, and that's when he realised there was some kind of problem, and we saw oil dripping out of the bottom of the bike.
Well, Jonas Folger doing all the hard work at the front. Since he arrived at that Aspar team, of course, he's had a pole position. That was in Aragon. He won the race in Brno. A couple of podium finishes, and who knows where he would have finished a week ago in Japan. He was leading the race when getting taken out by Louis Salom on that first bend of the last lap. So we could have been looking for even more points for Jonas Folger. He's had a really good season. Yeah, Cortese, he's hardly made a mistake all year, and it's his riding craft, the way he gets himself in the right positions the whole time. And you're right, Gav, sometimes he had to do that quite aggressively, but he always knows where he should be.
Yeah, and you see Salom just running it a bit wide on exit from the final corner, but he is there, and he really, realistically, with this top 5, needs to win the race to prolong this championship any further. Of course, no Maverick Vinales, just to reiterate, if you didn't hear us before, he's chosen not to ride the last 3 races with his team. Said that he's not happy with how the team have worked. He's not a winning team, in inverted commas. It's a second-rate team. Yeah, that's the one that's taken him to 5 Grand Prix victories this season. Lots of consternation about that in the paddock. We know there's another side, that problems with his personal manager, who is also the team manager, and we can understand that side. And we just worry that, hope it hasn't done any long-term damage in terms of signing for other teams or sponsors, that kind of thing.
Well, as I understand it, actually the team have said that if he wants to come back in Australia, the bike is still there for him. So it'll be interesting to see what Maverick Vinales' reaction is once he's had a chance to cool down back at home in Spain. Could we see him back in Australia?
Possibly a few airfares, wouldn't it?
What if they go on his dad's credit card, or if they go on the team's?
What I find extraordinary, when you've still got a chance of winning the World Championship, not taking that chance.
And FDR, who are I think they're in the lead in the Constructors' Championship in Moto3, and Honda as well are involved. You don't want to mess around these people who have major bikers. Rossi goes down in turn 9. He gets out of the way, thankfully, of the riders behind him. Oh, that could have been nasty, but Rossi is down, and it was Salom who was behind, and that could have just gapped Salom a little bit.
Yeah, what I was worried about, it could give the World Championship on the plate there to Sandro Cortese, because he could have taken Louis Salom with him. He didn't.
So Rossi crashes out from 4th place. Salom, Rins, Oliveira, Kent, Vazquez, and the rest of the field all move up a spot. No change at the front, though. Still Jonas Folger leading down the back straight, heading towards turn 15. They're trying to get Rossi going once more. Let's have a look at that. Run it hot through the apex of the corner, try to get the throttle, and almost hung on to it, but unfortunately couldn't save it, and thankfully no one was right in behind. Dirk Heidolf, next time, it's going to have to be in Australia.
Here comes Cortese, just having a little look up the inside of Farming Khairuddin. It really has tightened up at the front now. Corridon seemingly-
see Cortese was just sat up there. He didn't want to do anything, cause any kind of problems. Corridon looks quick in the faster sections around track round 5 and 6. Looks much quicker than Folger, but not so much in the braking areas compared to Folger.
It's really now down to Louis Rossi to prevent Sandro Cortese winning the World Championship. Louis Salom, sorry, prevent him winning the World Championship, isn't it, Ian?
Yeah, just looking there on the monitor, and you can see Sandro Cortese being held up a little bit by Fahmi Khairuddin through the slower sections of the track. Obviously, he won't want to go too hard on his own teammate for a couple of reasons. Firstly, I don't think he'd get out of here alive if he knocked Fahmi Khairuddin off. But secondly, any pass is a risk for Sandro Cortese. Well, the biggest problem the German has now is the race hand grenade, Louis Salom. Because Salom has nothing to lose. He's going to use his tyres up to catch up with Cortese. Then he's going to have problems with grip. But that isn't going to stop him trying to pass the German.
No, anybody who saw his move on Jonas Folger in Japan, I think, would agree with everything you say, Ian.
Down in towards turn 9, there's Romano Fenati just ahead of Nicholas Io, who had a nasty crash early on this weekend. And, just colliding then with Fenati in the change of direction between 1 and 2, but somehow brings it back okay, and they all get through it fine.
Quite lucky to get through that one particularly, I think.
Danny Kent's moved up into 6th place, just past Miguel Oliveira now, as they...
I don't think he's going to get too near Sandro Cortese this weekend.
Not after everything that happened last week.
Coming down towards turn 15 when they cross the line, there will be 11 laps to go.
And to be honest, this really is working in Cortese's favour. In fact, this front group is pulling away because if Salom would have to win to prevent him, really, from taking the championship if there's only 4 in that front group. And he'd have to finish 4th in that instance. So he can manage it a bit more when it's like this, spread out that bit more.
But you know and I know, sport has this way when it all looks signed, sealed and delivered. So look at that last lap in Motegi, for instance. It suddenly, the whole picture changed. You're just not quite sure.
Yeah, and look at Louis Salom's last lap. 4/10 quicker than the riders in front of him.
Yeah, he had to work hard, hasn't he, though, to catch up that front group. Wonder how much that has just taken out of his tyres, just something that he won't have later on in the race. Still, Folger plugs away. Mustn't forget he's having a great ride at the front. The lap times are quite a bit slower than they were in free practice. This is where Khairuddin is quick coming through this left-right sector. Can really make up a lot of time through there. Also lose it by that same token. Now, I wonder if Cortese will have a go here, going down towards turn 9.
This is a Danny Kent pulling up on the rear wheel there of Rins. Back at the front.
Cortese does take to the inside, more than anything, to block Louis Salom as well, who was looking to get through.
He's done well, Louis Salom, hasn't he? Obviously having to start further back because of that penalty. And he's where he wants to be in some ways, because at least he can rough Cortese up a little bit if there's any chance of doing that. Cortese's pretty good at giving it back. Khairuddin and Folger just stay in front and hope nothing happens behind them. Pretty cagey stuff at the moment, apart from Louis Salomo. I think he's got to try and get... I don't know, he's been very patient this year when he's won races, hasn't he? Very, very patient indeed. But I don't know if this is the situation to be patient with the championship so much in Cortese's favour.
Khairuddin's pulling well down that straight in terms of the engine. Just pulling away from Cortese and from Salom. That's going to be beneficial later on in the race. Didn't round the final corner, though, as well as Cortese, who's now tucked right in his slipstream. You can see Fahmi again just pulls away slightly from those 2 riders behind him and won't give them too many options going down in towards turn 1. And Cortese's having to block Salom. Here comes Salom now, up on the inside of the championship leader.
Right,
now,
so Louis Salom's got to get to the front and Cortese to remain there, isn't he?
If Salom is 3rd in the race, and Cortese needs to be 10th or better. So it's still fine for Cortese in this situation. It's just if he makes it to the front, then Cortese would have to pick up 1 rider. But as things stand, the rider behind him on track is Danny Kent. And Kent is 1.5 seconds behind.
Well, you just know that Louis Salom knows all the permutations, and he's going to be going for that race lead in this race. And if this means some hard moves on the likes of Fahmi Khairuddin and Jonas Folger to get there, then we know Louis Salom is not a man to shirk away from that. Maybe the team have already got the false nose and glasses to get him out of the track at the end of this Moto3 race.
Get the boot ready in the car.
I hope they've got aircon in that boot anyway. Out of turn 8 for the leading 4. As we say, 1.6 seconds back to Kent in that chasing pack. And Kent is almost going to work now and block the rest off and almost protect Cortese if he stays at the front of that chasing group.
Just while you mentioned air conditioning there, the cloud cover we now have over probably the whole circuit now means the temperatures dropped quite considerably since the start of this race. Not going to have any effect on the grip levels available to the riders, I don't think. Not going to help them conserve tyres, but it does herald the approach of rain.
So what have we got? It'll be 9 laps to go, won't it, when they cross the line this time round? We're getting quite near now, aren't we, to actually where the race could be stopped, although let's say there is no rain at the moment.
Well, yeah, no rain at the moment, so the race goes on. But Riccardo Moretti and Danny Webb, the two Mahindra riders, this race is already over, both in pit lane.
Here comes Salom once more. You see Cortese just got past him easily enough there. And he's almost as if to say, look, I can do that in my sleep. And just this battling is letting the front two just pull away slightly as they come across the line once more.
Well, that wouldn't be the worst thing for Cortese as well if he even held him up a little bit, would it? Because that would mean that, as we know, Salom's got to win the race, so Cortese would be very nicely placed there. I'm sure he wants to win the race to win the championship.
Knowing Cortese, though, and the way he's ridden this year, he's just going to ride his own race. He's just going to get on with it, and if he can win, he can. And then it'll be the 3 laps to go when he'll start to work things out. So we've had 9 laps of this race, 9 to go. We're at the halfway point in the Malaysian Grand Prix. I'm sure I just saw Fahmi just sitting up a little bit early there, as if there's a bit more in the tank, ready to make an attack at some point. We'd need 3 more complete laps if the rain were to come for this to be declared a full race.
Just a little bit further down, Arthur Sissy's in 10th place.
Yeah, he's
Jack
going well.
Miller in 18th near the points, and John McPhee going very well indeed, having a good battle with Finsterbush, and he's up in 21st place. These are the leaders.
How much can Salom hang on here? Because slight hits of the bumps as he went through. Look at him, he's losing just time on this lap too. The 3 bikes in front of him. Cortese's caught up with the leaders, and I'm not sure if Salom's able to stick there. Was there a moment for him, perhaps? Yeah, you see he almost lost the front there. That's the warning sign that he doesn't want, because that will just knock his confidence considerably.
There we go.
There are spots of rain out there. Spots of rain out on the track. Not sure where that's being waved, but
it must be over the back of the circuit towards turn 4, 5, because it's dry here on pit lane.
Amazing. It can happen. So localised. We saw last year Marc Marquez, when he crashed out in practice, ended his season, ended his championship aspirations. The freak shower, so they say, just at one part. Now, the rain signal has gone out to Cortese. Fahmi Khairuddin will also need to heed this, because if he wants to win this race, you're going to have to get a wriggle on, boys.
Right, when they cross the line, Gav, how many laps?
2 more laps would have to be complete for it to be a full race. Otherwise, it will be reduced right down.
So, just depends how bad the rain is and where it is. We certainly haven't seen it yet. Fahmi Khairuddin gets up the inside of Jonas Folger, decides not to, but you're going to have to make a move soon, as Gavin said, because if the race is stopped, you want to be at the front. Cortese just wants to finish now in front of Louis Salom.
And Cortese, if it finished like this, would be the world champion anyway. Salom has dropped back. Salom is nearly a second behind him. And this is ideal for him in some ways. Just doesn't want the risk over the next couple of laps. Jonas Folger still pushing hard. Their lap times hadn't dropped on that previous one, whereas Salom was 7/10 slower.
He's used a lot of rubber, hasn't he, Louis Salom, to get where he was, and he's had that moment. We saw the front end tuck, and now Cortese would just be keeping his fingers crossed. I'm sure he doesn't want it to rain. He wants the race to go the full distance, although it would stop the agony a lot quicker for him.
I think you heard
if it
from
went-
Arthur Sissis.
Yeah.
He was saying, give us 12 laps and then we'll be, I'll come in, thank you very
Yeah.
much. Because it is attritional stuff out there.
I think we saw Cortese's board telling him on at third was okay, didn't we, at one point? I'm sure he's got it absolutely worked out where he is. Yeah, look at the gap between him and Louis Salom now. It's up to 1.2
It's
seconds.
so dark in the background there, looking back over turn 10. That's over turn 15 as well in the distance. It is really, really dark.
Got to say, we saw the flag go out. We haven't really seen any sign of rain yet, have we?
Not in terms of their pace at the front,
No.
they're still plugging away. Now, Fahmi Karadine running it a little bit wide as if he really wants good drive onto this straight this time. Is there a chance for an attack? As we said, he's very good down the straights, but just on the brakes, Folger just has seemed to have the edge as he pulls a rip-off from his visor. Here he comes now on the inside. Fahmi Karadine is going to take over in the Malaysian Grand Prix. It's getting to that point now where if you lead across the line and you're leading by the end of the next lap, then that will be it. Karadine takes over from Folger. Cortese is in third place. He's got 1.5 seconds back to Louis Salom. This is playing into the IO team's hands at the moment with 7 laps remaining. They would need one more complete lap for this to be declared a race, and listen to the crowds.
Even the marshals were clapping when he went past then. Fahmi Karadine, he rewrote the history books yesterday on his 21st birthday. The first Malaysian to start from pole position. Now he leads the Malaysian Grand Prix here at Sepang, and there's a big, big threat of rain.
So Jonas Folger still in second place, still looks comfortable enough. Cortese is in third with that big gap back. Ian, what's the latest?
Yeah, it started to rain in pit lane now. He's only spots at the moment, but the riders will see that on their visors as they go down the start-finish straight. So wherever that flag was earlier on that we saw, they'll be showing another one on the start-finish straight shortly.
And the thing is, this lap would have to be complete for every rider out there. So we're talking all the way back to Armando Pontoni, who's a minute and whatever behind the leader. So he'd have to come across the line for it to be a complete lap, full lap.
And honestly, judging from the sparsity of the rain at the moment, I think that's quite possible.
Yeah, I think Folger knows the situation as well. He's worked it out because he's having a real go now at Fahmi Karadine.
Danny Kent is through on Louis Salom. This is all going in Cortese's favour. Salom clearly pushed very hard, struggled with that front end after that. Kent is up into fourth place. This championship should now be going to Sandro Cortese, barring a disaster for the German rider. Big pack in the chasing group. Whoa, huge dive up the inside there by Adrian Martin on the inside of Tanucci. That was Cortese on Tanucci at Japan almost. That was pretty fierce stuff from the Valencian youngster. And Brad Binder just tucks in behind him. Arthur Sissis in that group in 13th place. Really good scrap. And look at Jack Miller as well, number 8. He's involved in that tussle as well.
That was some move, that was,
Jonas
wasn't it?
Folger has taken the lead coming into turn 14, but Fahmi has reclaimed it coming down that back straight now into turn 15. Fahmi runs it wide though. There are spots of rain out there. So as they power down this home straight, across the line they go. It's going to be Folger who leads across the line at the end of lap 12.
Side by side they come up. Fahmi Karadine retakes the lead. The crowd, every single one of them are on their feet. Karadine leads. The rain is coming down. Folger tries to fight back.
And the rain is coming down as well. It's raining on the back straight, and the rain's now coming up from turn 15 down to pit lane.
Importantly though, Folger crossed the line in the lead by 46 thousandths of a second. Cortese would be world champion if the race was stopped now. Folger would be the race winner. If they go across the line again, then it could go back again. But this is we just got to see how it plays out with 5.5 laps remaining in the race.
Oh, what some drama here in Malaysia. Folger retakes the lead.
Through the fast turn 5, but Karadine hangs in on the outside. Very brave from the Malaysian, and he hangs on to the lead as well. He wants this race so much, you can tell by the way he's riding.
Folger breaks back up the inside. Folger retakes the lead. Ian, how's the weather?
Yeah, I think we're minutes away from this race being red flagged.
So really, Fahmi Karadine knows he's got to lead the way when they cross the line this time round, because I don't think we're probably going to get another lap in, even if this one goes.
Even that might not be enough, because depending on how full the lap is, they go back one. So we just have to wait and see how it pans out. Oh, big moment for Folger coming through turn 10. They come round 11 now. And still it's Folger leading. Carradine knows if he can get in front of him on the straight. We saw the problems he had, though, down into turn 15, getting the bike stopped. Their lap times have dropped by a second and a bit.
Through 14 they come.
Onto the back for Folger.
Now can Carradine take advantage? They're going to come side by side down towards turn 15. Folger leads the way. Surely Carradine will have a go here. He knows he's got to lead at the end of this lap because this race could be stopped because of the rain. Side by side into turn 14. Carradine retakes the lead.
Into the final corner. And is he going to hook it up this time? He does. As they come out of that final corner on the circuit, the fans will see he is leading. And he's going to lead when they go across the line. Still 5 laps to go. Still no sign of the red flag.
What a freight train. Tucked right in behind him, Jonas Folger and Fahmi Carradine. Sandro Cortese quite content just to watch the situation. He will be world champion if he stays on his bike. It's a little bit hairier down here. This is the battle now for 4th place.
And Salom's just taken both Oliveira and Kent on that straight to go back into 4th spot, but that still wouldn't affect the championship battle. Sandro Cortese, there are his parents watching on. Oh, you can just see the nerves etched on their faces as they watch this race, but as it is, their son will be crowned world champion after this race.
Brave ride by Louis Salom, Miguel Oliveira, Danny Kent, Alex Rins behind him. The whole of Malaysia are now holding their breath. Are we watching history in the making? The first ever Malaysian rider to win a motorcycle Grand Prix. It's the weather, it's everything. It's just leaning on these very capable shoulders.
And if you've seen, the lap times dropped another second, so 2 seconds slower than they were at the fastest part of this race. And Carradine is pulling away slightly. There's no move, no chance for Folger down here at turn 9. I'm just having a see, there's one more rider to come across the line, and that's the complete lap, and it would mean Carradine would then have a chance of being winner if the rain was to come.
Well, he's just crossing the line right now. So if the red flag comes now, Carradine would win, and the rain is definitely getting a little bit heavier here on pit lane.
Well, you can see it on the camera lenses as well. The 2 German riders sitting there in 2nd and 3rd place. And it could just work out perfectly for the IO team, couldn't it, if Carradine were to win and Cortese take the World Championship as well. Cortese would, of course, want to win, but I think he'd be happy to give this one up to his teammate if he can celebrate the title.
This is history in the making. It could be the first Malaysian to win a motorcycle Grand Prix.
Cortese is now through on Jonas Folger. So Cortese goes up into 2nd place, and he's just trying to seal this title with some style.
Yeah, the other bit of history, of course, the very first Moto3 world champion would be the German Sandro Cortese. Listen to that crowd. 4 laps to go for Fahmi Carradine. 4 laps to go for Sandro Cortese.
Down towards turn 1, the gap is about 3/4 of a second between the Malaysian and the 2 Germans who are slugging it out for 2nd and 3rd places. They're being so brave, as Ian has told us, spots of rain falling all the time, but they keep going. And the lap time dropped by another second on that lap, back to 2:16s for Carradine and co.
He lives just 10 kilometres away from the Sepang circuit. Fahmi Carradine, 21 years old yesterday. He could become the absolute hero of Malaysia. Sandro Cortese will be the hero of Germany, crowned the first Moto3 world champion. 3.5 to go. The rain, well, Ian, is it staying away?
It's here, you know, it is raining, but it's raining so lightly, and here in Malaysia on this track, it's not really going to have a massive effect on the track conditions. Yes, it's going to have an effect on the lap times. This is a combination of the track conditions and the rider's confidence with drops of water on the visor, but not a massive difference at the moment. If it stays like this, the race will run to the end.
Is Cortese going to spoil the party for
He
Fahmi
may well do it. He
Carradine?
might want to win this title with a victory, but they're such good friends. I hope not.
Oh.
I think it'd just be ideal if we had a Malaysian winner and he was world champion, but he'll of course want to win the race, and he'll of course want to win the championship with victory. I don't know. I'm not even going to call that one.
That's a difficult one to call. 3.5 laps to go.
And again, Cortese's ridden, as he has done all year, just sat around, sat tight, watched things unfold in front of his eyes, and been patient, not got involved in too many shenanigans. That's why he deserves this World Championship this year.
Down towards turn 14 they come.
Turn 15, the last on the Malaysian circuit. Down into it now, tight left-hander. Khairuddin just trying to hold off Cortese, who looks a lot more comfortable, a lot more sat up going into that corner than Fahmy. Here they come when they cross the line, 3 laps to go.
He looks very comfortable indeed, Sandro Cortese. The crowd willing on their hero at the front. What a battle this is for 4th place.
It looks darker than ever down there as well.
Well, the danger area is round about turn 10, turn 11, because over those 2 turns, the sky is completely black.
Luis Salom leading the way from Miguel Oliveira. This is the battle for 4th place, but at the front, Khairuddin still leads the way. Cortese with, well, 1.5 hands now on that World Championship trophy. But will he try and win the race? Well, I suppose he's got to in some ways to clinch his world title. But boy, it would spoil the party for Fahmy Khairuddin.
I still think Khairuddin would be delighted with the first ever podium. Of course, when he's got the win in his grasp, he'll be wanting that first victory. We'll just have to wait and see how it pans out. I think if Folger starts attacking Cortese, then he would try and make the move. But as it is, as things stand, well, here he comes. He's pulled alongside, has he? Is he going to go through? No, not this time.
One thing for certain, there won't be any nonsense between the two of them, because if the Danny Kent Cortese incident brought a few frowns last time around in the team, this would be the biggest disaster you could ever imagine. These are teammates, they're very good friends indeed. Cortese in 2nd place is set to clinch the world title.
Well, he was one of the first to welcome him back, wasn't he? In qualifying yesterday.
He was, yeah. But
Jack Miller's having a great race, by the way. He's up into 13th place. Arthurs is in 9th, and Miller has made his way right up into the points now, into 13 spots. So a very, very good race from him.
Yeah, John McPhee still battling with Finsterbush in 21st place.
Danny Kent just lost touch with Oliveira and Salom ahead of him. He's in 6th spot, 3/4 of a second behind the race winner from Japan.
Down towards turn 15 they come. Round this tight left-hander, then they cross the line. There'll be 2 laps to go. I reckon we're going to run the race distance. Confirmation of the championship positions. He can't be caught, Sandro Cortese, if the positions remain the same. He will arrive at Phillip Island in Australia as the very first Moto3 world champion.
Across the line they come. Khairuddin leading from Cortese, 2 tenths between them, and then Jonas Folger in 3rd spot. The crowd's cheers every single time that Khairuddin crosses the line will be urging him on.
It is an absolutely amazing situation. Teammates,
just
the
look
world
at the colour of
champion
those
is there,
clouds over the top, though.
And does he try to take the lead, or is he going to be happy to stay in 2nd place, celebrate his world championship with his teammates' first ever Grand Prix victory? I think a lot, as you said, Gavin, is down to Jonas Folger, and it doesn't really seem to quite have that pace to stay with them now.
Don't know, he's there, he's still there.
Yeah.
That's all he needs to be with 2 laps to go.
I really think if he started to threaten Cortese, would be forced into making a move on the leader.
Bits of sunshine poking through perhaps down at turns 6 now, turn 6. And this is where Cortese pulled alongside on the previous lap, not this time. He's just covering the back. He sits up a little bit there on Khairuddin. Knew that if he'd have kept going, could have collected them. They both could have gone down. 1.5 laps to go into the tight turn 9.
This is where you want communications with the team manager, don't you, as they have in car racing, because he can tell them exactly what to do.
Which they don't have. They just have that pit board once a lap.
That's right.
And whatever was said before the race.
Yeah, I don't know if they realised that the situation would be exactly as it is at the moment. It's an absolutely brilliant situation for the IO Motorsport team.
You can see there are still spots of rain on the camera lanes.
Aki Io.
What's Aki Io thinking? You can see his heart. You can see almost his heart pumping out of his chest.
He's thinking, please both be careful, I think, more than anything else. Down to 15. There will be 1 lap to go. The crowd are going absolutely crazy.
You see that grandstand is full from top to bottom on the back straight, and then on the front, this is where the noise really picks up as it bounces off the pit building as well. There is one lap, 5.5 kilometres, 3.5 miles to go in the Malaysian Grand Prix, and a Malaysian is winning. Go, 1 lap to go, P1 for Fahmi Khairuddin as they come across the line. Listen, it's deafening noise down at turn 1.
Absolutely unbelievable atmosphere.
Slight twitch for Cortese as he tried to bring it tight there into turn 1.
Cortese closes up. It's almost that he's protecting Fahmi Khairuddin at the moment.
He's like a tail-end Charlie.
He is. So perhaps he's quite happy to remain there. Only Sandro Cortese knows what is going to happen in the 3/4 of the lap that is left as they come up towards turn 4.
I think it all does depend on Folger, who is pushing hard to even stick with these two at the front now. Cortese was fastest coming out of turn 6. This is 5. And then into 6, this is where Cortese's been pulling alongside his teammates. Is he going to go through? Here they come, out of that corner now.
I suppose Khairuddin's just got to make life as difficult as he can for him because he knows Cortese will not take a big risk. Do you know, I think Cortese is not going to take the lead. I think he's going to say, Fahmi Khairuddin, you've got to win the race.
But the question is, do you think he's trying to take the lead? Because I do. I think it looks like he's still been having a go in a lot of these corners.
Half a lap to go, turn 9, that difficult uphill left-hander. Fahmi Khairuddin still leads the way. Everybody at Sepang, I think everybody in Malaysia are on their feet. Fingers crossed, legs crossed. Big, deep breath. Is history going to be made? Certainly by Sandro Cortese, the first Moto3 world champion. But is Fahmi Khairuddin with a bit of a wobble going to win here in his home circuit?
Cortese's going to hit the inside now of Khairuddin as they come onto the back straight. I told you he wanted to get past. Now he's going to power down the back straight. Who has the power on board their bikes? As they go down towards the final corner on the circuit, Fahmi Khairuddin takes over once more into the final corner. Turn 15 on the track. Cortese's going to take to the inside. And he's going to win this one from Fahmi Khairuddin. Khairuddin may even miss out on second place. Or will he? Here they come, the drag down towards the line.
Cortese wins the race. Fahmi Khairuddin in second place. Cortese is the Moto3 world champion. Fahmi Khairuddin, the first Malaysian to finish in second place in a Grand Prix. Well done, Jonas Folger. What a last lap. Well, congratulations to the new world champion, Sandro Cortese.
He won't be popular out here. I think one half of the IO garage is furious. They're great friends, of course, but not enough to deny Cortese winning the race and the World Championship.
I think Sandro Cortese may need to borrow Louis Salom's false nose and glasses later.
That's nice to see. Louis Salom, first man to stop and shake hands with the new world champion. 22-year-old German. This is 131st Grand Prix, his 7th Grand Prix victory. He is the new, well, the very, very first Moto3 world champion. What a last lap. And all his teammates trying to join. Nicholas Ayo is there. Arthur Sissis is there. And Cortese has done it. Louis Salom was 4th, Miguel Oliveira 5th, Danny Kent in 6th place, Alex Rins 7th, Vasquez 8th, Nicholas Ayo 9th, Adrian Martin 10th, Arthur Sissis 11th, Brad Binder 12th, Jack Miller 13th, Alex Marquez 14th, Niccolo Antonelli in 15th place. John McPhee, another good ride by the Scottish youngster, into 22nd spot. Number 1 goes onto the bike. His father and mother have flown in specially. I think they were going to Australia, but they've come early. Antonio and Karen, his mum and dad, and Sandro Cortese, a very, very worthy world champion. Fahmi Khairuddin, well, I'm sure he may not have won the race, but what a ride by the Malaysian. And Jonas Folger, I think what he could do is sit there and watch. There we go, there is Fahmi Khairuddin. A big shake of the hands there, I think with Danny Kent. Yeah, the crowd are disappointed, but It's an amazing weekend for the Malaysian. And you cannot take anything away from the new world champion. "22-year-old German Sandro Cortese, the very first Moto3 world champion." And there are mum and dad. Slowly making his way back, slowly sinking in. Oh, what a different feeling it was just 7 days ago when he crashed just 3 bends from the finish in Motegi. Got back on the bike to finish in 6th place, but he thought he should have won the World Championship. What a difference a week can make. I think probably Fahmi Karadin's in there somewhere. This is the Marshals. Yeah, there he is. I think he'd be 99% happy and just 1% slightly disappointed not to win the race. Well done, Fahmi Karadin. That first win surely is not far away. The poor old Jonas Folger, he's probably made his way back to Park Ferme. He's waiting for everybody to arrive, I would imagine. Yeah, another shake of the hands there for Fahmi Karadin from Julian Pedoni. And the crowd in the grandstand await the arrival of their hero. I think this is coming down towards turn 15. He'll come then into the start and finish straight. Into pit lane, of course, into Park Ferme. What a day for Malaysian motorsport. What a day for German motorsport. Another German world champion. It was a Stefan Bradl, wasn't it, in the Moto2 class last year? It's Sandro Cortese in the new Moto3 World Championship. I think everyone wants to take a bit of a breather now. So Cortese, 131 Grand Prix, 7 wins. And this is Fahmi Karadin. Aki Yayo, team boss, immediately goes and congratulates him. And listen to the crowd. Poor Jonas Folger. Yeah. Bit of a pantomime dame, really, wasn't it, when everything was going on around him? There's nothing he could do but just watch the drama in front of him. But another very, very good 3rd place for the German. Germany today has a new world champion. 22-year-old Sandro Cortese. Aki Yayo and his team. Boy, they produced some world champions. 1st and 2nd in this race. But 1st place to Folger. Sorry, 1st place to Cortese. And the celebrations will now start. I think he wants to go and shake hands with Fahmi. That's where he is. So the crowd feel. Fahmi Karadin's name being chanted. Take the earplugs out, you can probably hear that now, Sandro Cortese. Well, We could have 3 world champions crowned here at Sepang today. The first race has produced a new world champion, Sandro Cortese. We now look to Marc Marquez and Jorge Lorenzo in the next 2.
We'll start with the rider in 3rd place. Congratulations, Jonas. You led for so many laps. Did that take it out of you? How hard was that race?
Really, really hard. As you can see, I'm very tired. So it was so hard. In the beginning, I just tried to make my lap times like in the free practice, but really I don't arrive to my lap times. We changed the setting a little bit and we went completely wrong. But finally we make the best out of it, and we're happy to be on the podium. Just from the middle of the race, we cannot stay there, but at least in the beginning. So we have things to improve, but we're happy.
Well done, Jonas.
Thank you.
Yeah, well done, Jonas Folger. Did a lot of the donkey work at the front, didn't he? You could just see by his face what 18 laps in this heat takes out of you at Sepang. Jonas Folger in 3rd place.
Fami, just listen to that crowd there. Just missed out on the win, but your first podium. How good does it feel to be on the podium finally?
Yeah, really happy. Yeah, we know we had the pace from free practice 1, and then I just follow Folger in the beginning of the race, and then yeah, I decided to move in the front last 7 laps. But in the end, it was really nice fight with Sandro. Yeah, I was really pushed in the break, but yeah, I was in the limit. I thought better second than crash. But yeah, I'm really happy today. But thank you to all my fans to come here today, and yeah, I will enjoy this moment.
Enjoy it, do.
Yeah, thank you.
So he should enjoy it. Fahmi Karadin, 2nd in the Malaysian Grand Prix here in Sepang. But there's one man left to talk to. Sandro Cortese, the 2012 Moto3 World Champion. In the middle of all the celebrations there, you just see Gavin. He'll get there with the new world champion in a minute. And of course, riders make their way up to the podium. What a special podium it will be for Cortese and his teammate and his great friend, Fahmi Karadin. And well done also to Jonas Folger. Next race up, Moto2, where Marc Marquez, of course, very capable of clinching the world title.
Sandro, it may be raining so heavy, but I'm sure you don't mind. You are the 2012 Moto3 World Champion. How good does that sound to you?
I think it's, at the moment, I can't still believe it. And of course, with this victory, it was, I didn't risk so much. I waited the whole time just to finish the race in front of Salom. And then at the end, when I saw, okay, there's maybe a possibility to also win and win the championship with a victory, that's like a dream come true, of course, with the World Championship, but with a victory, it's incredible. And I just wanted to show just everyone, even if Vinales go home, that I can win the races like this.
Well done, congratulations, enjoy it.
Thanks.
Yeah, the rain beginning to pour down. It's not going to dampen any of the celebrations, I can promise you. This is the very last bend of the race. Cortese perfectly poised into turn 15. Fahmi Karadin trying to get good drive out, but just a little bit of a wiggle. And Cortese clinches the world title with a victory here in Malaysia. Karadin in 2nd place, Jonas Folger 3rd. That's what it means to him as the riders now start to make their way up to the podium, and a big hug from the new world champion and the man who finished second, Fahmi Karadin. And the rain that had stayed away has now arrived big style. Cortese wins from Karadin, Jonas Folger third, Louis Salom, first man to congratulate Sandro Cortese, cements his second place in the championship. Oliveira, Danny Kent did well, Alex Rins, Efren Vasquez, Nicholas Ayo, a really good result for him. What a great day it's been for his dad's team. Adrian Martin, Arthur Sissis, more points for the young Australian. Brad Binder, the South African rode well done. Jack Miller in 13th place. Alex Marquez, he'll be watching his big brother, Marc Marquez, in the very important Moto2 race coming up. Completing the point scorers, Niccolo Antonelli. John McPhee, the young Scotsman, going well. Again, finishing a Moto3 race. Danny Webb out, Louis Rossi crashing out. And the rain now that we thought might ruin this race that we've just seen, now here big time for Moto2. That's the gap, 73 points between Cortese and Louis Salom. That means with 2 rounds remaining, he cannot be caught at the top of the Moto3 World Championship. Maverick Vinales, well, could he have done anything about it today? We are never going to know, because he went home on Friday morning. There we see Jack Miller, 22nd in the World Championship, 17 points. Nicholas Ayo had a really good ride today in 9th place. Brad Binder moving up 3 places after his excellent performance. There is Scottish teenager John McPhee, that single point. I got to tell you, Gavin's just come back from Parfum, mate. He is so wet. It is unbelievable.
I tell you what.
Right, is the best thing I've seen is racing.
We can't. Mike's probably cutting out because we got absolutely soaked out there when we were doing that. Oh, Ian didn't actually. He managed to stay out of the way.
Is that better?
Yeah, we got you now.
Yeah, it's the funniest thing I've seen. Stood under cover, Gav appears, stands outside, gets absolutely drenched. But it's worth the trip.
But I'm not sure they could start the Moto2 race if it was like that, if it kept going like that. We'll see now as they prepare things for Moto2, but just to say that is a rainstorm.